Okay, our internet got cut out. That happens to us a lot here, as you know. So anyways, we're back. I think he's got the words now.
Yeah, yeah, to return, to lay down, return to lay down the fires.
I'm going to show it to everybody so they can see it.
Okay, time to return home. Absent.
Okay, now for us, what that means, when the Great Law of Peace was established over 2,000 years ago, the fires of the Great Peace were lit within each nation, within each house. So it doesn't mean simply like when you see something there of the word fires, it doesn't mean go back to a physical fire. It encompasses a whole sentiment, a whole meaning, an understanding. Basically, it's that, in a nutshell, it's return to original instruction. It's basically like go back to square one, start over again, but it's for the purposes of or it's because of that there was a corruption. So this phrase here is a simple, one little easy line to say, but it encompasses and means so much more that this is what we're going to discuss now as we go through it so that everybody can fully wrap their mind around really what the message is here tonight. Okay, can everybody see that then? Maybe can you make it bigger, Edith? And then we'll go through the usual, how we say it.
Do I bring this one down?
Fire, see what this, no, just stop because this going to lay down the fire and come home.
Oh, okay.
That's just wanted to slash. I should push this.
There you go.
Yeah. It's our home.
Can you make it bigger so we can see it on the screen?
This is going to turn down, but it's okay.
Maybe it's better if it jumps down.
Is that good? Can everybody see?
If you can go bigger even.
Maybe look here.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
good
yeah,
there.
I can see it. Okay, so again, just to know, time to return home, that sounds very simple. But we're going to go over it in Kanienkeha, and then we'll go into the discussion, the explanation as to the meaning.
Okay, the word is Dewa Zahaya.
Sanghaya.
Dewa Zahaya.
Dewa Sanghaya.
Siyungwata Squahere.
Siyungwata Squahere.
Siyungwata Squahere.
Siyungwata Squahere.
It's really good. You guys got a good ear. Siyungwata Squahere.
Should we do it one at a time like we did before?
You mean everybody say it?
Yeah,
Okay.
and we'll even give the people on the Zoom the chance to say it. Go ahead, birthday girl.
I'll never forget you.
Can you repeat this before?
Yeah, so don't see us. So don't see us. Listen.
Aung Sate Wat Sahaya.
Oh, you're not finished.
The second word.
Siyungwata Squahere.
Ziungwata Squahere.
Huh? Kayeri.
Okay, my turn now.
Very good.
Ahonsai te wat sanghaya and Sionguata Squahere.
Yeah, das Squahere. Good.
Dasquahere.
First time you say it, you know what do you expect, but it's very good. Edith, so then you.
Celine?
Oh, I can see she's hidden back there.
She's hiding.
Ayun sa wa sa he.
Okay, just listen to me and come right after me. Dewa Sahaya.
Ayon zewa santayaha.
Siyong kwata squahere.
Siwan dasquahe.
Okay. Perhaps I didn't even see you.
It's okay because you
It's
have
got a camouflage on it.
Aon saye te watsahaya, sion watasquahere.
Okay.
Zaya de wa Zahaya, Zio Guada Squahere.
All right, we're going to say it one more time, but this time after me, then we'll go to Stuart. So everybody listen.
Oh, we have to let the people in the Zoom.
Oh,
Okay,
people on the Zoom.
excuse me. Anybody on the Zoom?
Eat it,
wanna
eat it.
try?
You manage them. Or whoever's doing it, who's got the computer.
Okay, Desiree and Arrow.
All right. I'll do Ion say twat sa hot way and Sion twat task wahore.
It's pretty good, yeah. Aum zai dewa zahaya, siyong kwata squahere.
Ion twat sa hora. Sion twat sa wahore.
Siyong kwata squahere. Okay.
Sion twat task wahore.
Okay, very good for the first time.
Desiree? Not-
Right.
Comes next. Hans? You're muted.
Can't hear you.
There's our mute button on.
Okay, sorry, because I was looking for where to unmute myself and, okay. Can you say it again once?
Aum zai dewa zahaya.
Ein sa te tua sa aya.
Siyong kwata squahere.
Tiu an gatsua sere.
Squahere.
Squa ere.
Mm-hmm. And actually, for the Quebecois, it should be easier for you to learn that because was written by the Jesuits, so you know the sound chart. It's your same sound chart as yours, as the Quebecois. Okay, who else is out there?
Anne? You're in both places. You're in two places at the same time.
too. She's speaking, we cannot hear you.
Yeah, and you're muted. Okay, so next. Other angle.
No, she's on the other computer.
I
but
know,
she's
I
still-
know, Maggie.
She's still muted.
We don't
You're
hear
muted,
you, Anne.
Anne.
There
Okay,
you
now
go.
I'm on my computer instead of my cell phone. Anaswata Wasahena.
Okay, Aum Zayed, just listen to me, church, and just listen close. Aum Zayed Dewa Zahaya.
Anawasea Tanewa.
Pretty close. Okay, Siyong kwata squahere.
Senyu Watasquane.
Guahere.
Waneat.
Okay, Guahere. Who else is out there?
Ellen, you just came in, but that you with me next.
Okay,
Yes, but I had a problem with the Zoom, but I was following on Facebook Live.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyway,
Hey, quick boy. Aum Zayed Dewa Zahaya.
Ahonsayeta Wasawatsahaya.
That's pretty good. Siyong kwata squahere.
Tsiunquatasquahere.
It's excellent. Yeah, that was excellent. Good.
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy to.
Marie-Noël.
Bonne fête, Angèle. Bonne fête, Angèle. Bonne fête, Angèle. OK. À 11, c'est toi, c'est.
Okay, quick way. Zaye dewa zahaya.
Ahon sahe, tuehe, sahehe.
Zahayon.
Tion quatas quahere.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. I actually think Giuwata Squire is a harder word than Zaye dewa zahaya.
Ouais, tion quatas quahere.
Yeah, Jiung Guata Squire. Jiung.
Tion.
Okay. Who else?
Merrick.
Okay. Ione sa squahare.
Oh, you're reading the wrong
You're
line.
reading the wrong one. Read the first one. Okay, I'm gonna say it and come right after me. Zaye dewa zahaya.
Ion sae set swahayon.
Zahaya. Yeah, okay. Jiung Guata Squire.
Sion squahare.
Okay, that's good then.
And Rami. I don't think he will talk. He's doing that.
Oh, Rami's there?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Rami.
He says
Okay, you know what? We'll make this a little bit easier on people. Let's put the separation of the where they'll understand it better.
Let's see.
Pronunciation.
Go back to. Okay.
If we separate it after the I'm. Mita, you should do it. Let Eden do it. It's her computer, she knows all that.
Right at the A.
Where is the mouse now? Oh, here.
That's what I was looking for.
Here?
The A, the very first letter.
Oh, okay, here.
Separate it there.
Like with like this?
Yeah, and then S A. Separate it there. Again.
Yeah.
Zaye. Yeah. TSKWTE. UA. At the end. Yeah, Hayon. Okay. Now the G what the square to break that up. TSI. ION. AWA. DS. AWA. Edit. Okay, now it's going to be easier. So I don't know who's next, but Zaye dewa zahayum. Zaye dewa zahayum.
Zaye dewa zahayum.
Ziyung guada squahire.
Ziyung guada squahire.
Zaye dewa zahayum.
Zaye dewa zahayum.
Ziyung guada squahire.
Ziyung guada squahire.
Okay. And okay, we're going to keep moving on, or you want to keep?
Let's go through it until
one more. Okay, who else is next? There's more people out there.
The last one was Rami. So.
Okay, the last one was Rami.
so we'll go through it one more time.
Okay, you start and see. I'm supposed to start on this.
Okay, let me look at it from here because my eyes are going bad then.
It's being cold, huh?
Ayuzaye dewa zahaya. Zion guada squahire.
Okay, good comeback. So you aced it.
See, you caught it, then I had to come back on that one.
No, when you come back on your own, if I was marking you, if you come back and correct it yourself, I realize it's just a typo in your head.
Okay, you know why? I'll tll you why. I got a breakdown there. Let's watch. Try to eat it. Can you come back over here?
Mm-hmm.
Make Zion. Take that one out of Zion. And take it out of Guadas. See there, I see it differently now. Zion, Guadas, Guaherde. Zion, Guadas, Guaherde. See, with those other two breaks in there, it's like the brain has to think
Right.
too much stuff there. there it's easier for me. Ziyun guada squahare. And then even on the front of the first one here, take out in between right there. And this one. Okay, for me, I can see it much easier now. Ayun zaye de wat zahaya.
It's good. Okay.
Ziyun guada squahare.
That's right. Ziyun guada squahare.
No, any other one of you, just tell me if it's easier like that. If you see it, whatever.
For my part, it was easier just before, but it's okay. Aun sayete watsahaya. Tiungwataske wahere.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the H.
You put pressure on yourself. That's why.
Yeah.
Ayun sayete watsahaya. Si un quata quahere.
Aon sayete watsahaya. Tion quatas quahere.
Aun sayete watsahaya. Sion guatas quahere.
Now, all you guys out there,
Anne.
Anase Anase Tua Taswane and Teza
Ziyun guada squahare.
again.
Ziyun guada squahare.
Can you Gasquat Squane? I don't know.
Okay, that's all right. That's right.
Harold.
Ayun say toi sahaya. Sion quata squat. Sion quata squat sahare.
Squat. Ziyun guada squahare.
Sion quata squat in it. Squat name. Sion quata squat name.
France.
Ayun say teo tewa sing yeah.
Zhonghayon.
Tia awa tia awa. I'm sorry. Sorry. I thought I had it. Siyong what das qua ere.
Yeah, Ziyun guada squahare.
Siyong what das qua ere.
But that first word, I gotta admit, that's a hard word to remember. For me to read it is hard. I gotta look away. I'm like the what's on.
Ayun dewa sahaya.
Hélène.
Ahon sayete watsahaya. Tion quatas quahere.
Wow, you're really good. Nyawa, you're good.
Thank you. Nyama.
Marina L.
Hahon te watsahehe. Sion quatas quahere.
Very good.
Merit.
Ayon sete wasahayan. Sion quata skahare.
That's good. Very good, yeah.
And the last one is Rami. He says no.
No, really doesn't want to
He
try.
says that.
But you all you people out there is that's why the language was never supposed to be written, because you had to be aware. I mean, we didn't write it anyway. But what made good orators at the time was everybody had to listen. You had to listen. That's why only one person was talking. There was nobody yelling over one another. So you learned from each other. If you really wanted to hold a title of clan mother or Royaner, then you would listen, because that's what you were judged on, was your oration. Today, people can read. Mohawks can read, but they don't know what they're reading. For me, it's like eating something and not knowing what you're eating, you know? You just gotta eat whatever they put on your plate. So here it gives you a chance to break it down and say, well, yeah, I heard what you said, but I don't agree with it. You know, so they said, well, you had to hear it, and you had to hear from everybody. And so you're gonna hear different, we'll all have a different dialect though. We'll have a different French dialect. I mean, we have, what's her name? She's Ellen, she's in Belgium, but she sounded really good, you know? But she was listening, and it's an ear language. Always listen to the person behind you. And if you're like sitting where Edith is, look at all the chances she has to hear it. Okay,
She better hope we don't say it all wrong.
yeah. No, but I'll say it, then the mistake will be there, then you go from you.
Oh, aun sayete watsahaya.
Ayun sai te wataya.
Aun sayete watsahaya.
Aun sayete watsahaya.
Who's next out there?
Anne. Anne, you're muted.
Anasaya. Anasaya. Say this again for me. Anasaya Teoswana.
Okay, not bad.
Nope.
No,
Oh,
Wait.
no, we gotta go through everybody else on there first. You only went through Anne. You're
Uh-huh.
still okay.
Okay, Errol.
I don't say wasahayo.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good.
Right. Sion Quata. Here we go. I got it. I had it before. Let's see. Can you say it one more time?
Sion Quata Squahere.
Sion Quata Squahere.
Yeah, okay, you didn't know that. Sorry.
Oh.
Just the first word. Zaida Watsahaya.
All right. I don't say swat. Oh. I don't say swat. I don't say watsahayo.
Okay.
All right.
Who's next?
France.
Ayun say kwatsahaya.
Okay.
Hélène.
The second one is.
No,
After
not the second.
Hélène.
Okay.
Okay. Ahon sayete watsahaya.
Okay. Wow.
Marie-Noël.
Aun sayete watsahena.
Ooh, that's two good ones.
Merrick.
Ayun sayete watsahaya.
Yeah, no weak links in the chain. So that's the whole group.
Yeah.
Okay, now everybody listen. And if nobody makes a mistake, then you should have heard it 8 times the time it gets out there. You.
Ziun Guatasquahere.
Ziun quadasqua here.
Ziun kwatasquahere.
Siun watasquahere.
Anne.
Hiunga Masquahea.
Errol.
Sion Quata Squahere. Sion Quata Squahere.
You said it right.
France.
Siunga katsua ere.
Hélène.
Tiun kwatasquahere.
Ooh, good.
Marie-Noël.
Yun Quatasquahere.
Merrick.
Zion Quataskahere.
Very close. You got some water. So when you're listening, it just goes to show you when you're listening. But like some people say, well, it only gets to my turn. So I have 7 people in front of me, so they don't think. Here, you're always supposed to be alert. By the time it gets to you, he's going to have the hardest time, or he should, but he's not.
The thing here, the purpose of doing this, when you think of this phrase, where are any of us going to use this phrase in our daily lives? Never. Okay, so what's the purpose of this? This is a protocol within law. now, what the world doesn't understand anymore is that the law of creation, it doesn't have to be known by you. You don't have to adhere to it. It doesn't matter. The laws of creation are happening every day. Again, for a better understanding for the non-native, you could just consider the great law of peace as being the great law of physics. So the law of creation, which you know as the law of physics, we identify it as the great law of peace because creation has come about in a peaceful way for the good, and therefore the mind has to be in balance with the good. And so the purpose for knowing this or even speaking this phrase is that even if you say time to return home, if you said that in English or if you said it in French, it means nothing. It means nothing to you. But in this phrase, you have to understand, or you will come to understand in saying it, the meaning, the sentiment, what it identifies. That simple phrase, time to return home, for a person of the great law of peace, that speaks the entirety of the great law of peace. It speaks of the formation of the League. It speaks of our entire 2,000-year history up until now. So 4 simple words, time to return home, or really it's 3 because the 2 is not really one of those words, but time to return home, and those 3 simple words of identifying something, again, that is a huge meaning there. So this is what we'll do, if you don't mind. We'll break down the words. We're going to break down now to see the root, the meanings of this, and you can see how where you think like the word home, you'll be thinking about a house or something like that, but you'll find out how it implies much more about a fire, a central fire. And anyways, we'll get into that then if we can break down the word.
Okay, A'um is A'um for us. A'um Zayedewa for us too. And then Zahaya is the fire. Zaha is always the fire. You'll hear it later, Gahwa today, but this is in another text. It'll change. Drive you crazy, this language. You almost gotta be born with it. But you can learn it. Anyone can learn it if they so choose. But A'um, it's A'um for us too. A'um Zayeh for all of us. To lay the fire. There was Zahaya. To put the fire back down, to lay the fire down. So you're the fire keepers. You're basically talking to the people of the longhouse at its beginning. There were people always laying the fire keepers. So they had to, the order was given to them. But yet we're involved because we put them in charge. We're constantly watching one another.
Something to remember here about that term, just that simple thing that he says about fire keepers. Today, when you hear that, you cannot possibly comprehend what it means because you do not have a relationship with fire today. Even if you go to your cabin up north once a month and you have a wood stove and you start your fire, you're not going to comprehend the meaning of fire keeper until you actually have to live by that fire. Right now, none of you are able, even if you wanted to live by the fire, meaning that your life, your existence is going according to that cycle of the fire. One simple thing there to know is if you are alone and you are living by the fire, you are not going to get more than 4 hours sleep at a time. Now, you don't know what that means right now because you're used to sleeping 8 hours uninterrupted. Now, if you had to live by the fire, meaning, like say, for instance, right now it's super cold out. If you didn't have a fire, then if you weren't, or if you had to exist based on a fire and you're used to sleeping 8 hours a night, you would probably freeze to death. Right now, the point that I'm making here is that the words right now on the surface cannot really truly be comprehended. We have to go deeper. Talking about laying down the fire, and or to say us, this implies the whole council process, because us cannot do anything. If we're in the stage of where we have to call the people home, us, you, me, us, we're all separated, right? In order to activate this. So us cannot do anything. There is no us. So to say, you, me, together, we must do this, then automatically, when you have the concepts, the knowledge in your mind of how the piece was built, then the mind is automatically being brought back through. Let's say if you got a volume of dictionaries, 1,000 pages, with 1,000 words on every page, your mind is automatically brought through every word, all the way from the end of that book right back to the beginning. And in an instance like that, understanding all the concepts in a simple paragraph, in a simple sentence, all the concepts in the paragraph, and then the overall concept in the overall chapter, and then of the overall book. And so these things are incremental learnings, incremental steps to gain the knowledge here, where everybody must say this now. It doesn't matter to me if you don't listen or if you don't believe it or whatever. Everybody must say this. It's time to return home. And you got to say that enough to where you understand every barrier or every barrier that's in your way. Because if you said time to return home and then you just walk like a robot until you hit the first barrier, oh, I must be home. You'll think you're home. No. Time to go home knows that no barrier stands in your way. You must take down the barriers. And every barrier that you take down is an understanding. It's an old knowledge of something that happened to you previous that you no longer can remember. We are going through a de-brainwashing process of humanity. It's a psychological process, because this is what the Guyana Rasada Goa is all about. It's all about mastering the human psyche. And to master it means that you must know all the concepts, all the meanings, how it was done, so that you don't have to go back and reinvent the wheel every time.
Well, the what you call it, the what's on is actually, once the law was initiated, this is so that the fire never goes out. This is a political fire. It's a political fire. It's not like that fire there. That fire can go out, but your political fire can never go out. That's why when you sit people, the fire keepers, their whole job is to be vigilant so the fire doesn't go out. All the other stuff, because they're not going hunting. They're not going hunting. This is their job. And there's other guys that hunt. There's other women do this. But female, once she's tied to the political fire, her work around cooking and cleaning will be there, but her whole, if the baby's crying, well, let Mary Clove take care of the baby. You're Yana, you got to stay right by that fire. That's your job. So that's why everybody, they say Gawadzire, which means the political fire again. So that kid you're holding is someone else's, but it's your child. So we're always minding somebody else's children on our own. Your job, your child now has been the fire. Such no. That's why people here say, well, that here, like in the political way now here on the reservations, and they call themselves fire keepers, but they're keeping the fires of a European law. And they make sure it doesn't go out because they get paid well. So they don't care about our fire, what we're talking about here tonight. They got smoked up, they're gonna do hard. Doesn't matter, because there's no money in that. But that's your pride is in there, your everything is in there. That means more than money. if you have that, you have the language to back it up. You know, because none of them could ever hold a fire, a political fire, but it must have been well taught out to the people that gave them that title, was to say, let's fool them. The people say they really are the law, but yet they're preaching the Magna Carta. It's
You know,
always-
to identify political fire, what he's pointing out is, you all know the word political. So when you hear political, you're automatically thinking of what's going on in so-called Ottawa or in so-called Washington. You're thinking of what goes on in democracy. That is not politics. That's corruption. In corruption, there's no politics, because politics identifies by mere virtue of the word politics, and never what they want to say what it means to early Greeks or to whoever. When you think of politics, it is the relations that humans do of how to conclude on a collective basis. So when you have a process like that, how to conclude on a collective basis, that cannot be corruption. If it is corruption, that's not politics. That's why people get turned off to politics, because you see democracy. That's not politics. You cannot have politics in democracy where things are governed by money, ruled by that. You cannot have politics there. When he points out political fire, this tells you that when they say they want to put out the political fire, again, it's how humans interrelate to each other. You see this right now. Your political fire is squelched, it's put out, because the humans don't have the interaction right now. It's stopped. It's like you can actually flick the switch. Human interaction, okay, it's on. Human interaction, it's off right now. That's where you are. So your political fire is non-existent. You really, in the first place, in a non-native world, you don't even think of a political fire. You do not think politically or conduct yourself politically as an individual. It's out of your realm, because all the politics that you know or that goes on elsewhere. It's being done to you. So to reactivate the political fire is within you, to get back your power, which you have given away to someone else to decide for you, for your children. This is democracy. In democracy, you give somebody else the power to make decisions for your children, and you protest against them. So the reality is you do not have knowledge of your own political fire. And so we start tonight to reignite that as it's identified, to lay the fire down. Of course, you know what that means. That means to reignite it. Put the stuff there, but it means to lay it down. You have to do the foundation work first. There's a lot of foundation work that you have to do to establishing peace. Establish yourself in this world. There's a lot of foundation work you got to do. So this is the process we're going through in learning these words. Now, you don't have to learn and master the Kanienkeha words, because you will never use those words. But you will master the concept. You will come to know how to take your own fire from inside of you and make it take physical form. It will manifest once again. You're not used to this. You don't know how to do it. It will happen. We can make that comeback about through the Kanienkeha. If we go through the protocols of this, we can bring you back to life. But if you don't follow the protocols, then your political fire, which was already squelched hundreds, thousands of years ago, is not going to have any chance of ever coming back within you. So these concepts, discuss it in your own self. What does that mean? Time to return home. You're not going back to your childhood home. You're going back to original instruction. And for anybody, again, what is your original instruction? If we look at original instruction of creation, you already know the reference to that. that is the laws of physics. Always refer to that as the great law of peace, the great law of physics, the great law of peace physics, the great law of physical peace, because the reality of physical matter is that it is a peaceful existence. It is not a war. It is not an adversarial existence that we live in. It is a coexistence of helping and assisting each other. This is not there now today. It is taken away completely. And no matter what anybody wants to keep their mind staying in any kind of fantasy world, whether you want to stay in that fantasy world or not, we are going to force you one way or another, the world, to confront you with the things that are preventing you from being that true person again, being able to be not a protester in this world, but a person who asserts their authority, their power. This is how we got here, just in our line of communication with each other, through power and authority. And the power and authority is the Guyana Rasa Goa. It is the great law of peace, and how we communicate to each other. The reason why we are at these levels is because of the Gaswanta of the Degane Diohade. So from here, if there is further that you think we can go tonight, if not from here, I'll just say right now that Wayagirdo identified that to continue the Kanienkeha classes, we'll do it each Saturday, right? But that he will do it from the Zoom. That way he doesn't have to leave his house. It'll make things a lot easier. Tonight is the first one, and of a very important issue, so that you know that all Kanienkeha classes from here, it's not going to be what I'm going to formulate. He's the teacher, but it will be in this vein of understanding of the human awakening, coming into their power, into peace, into this world.
I'm going to leave it up to you to, like, okay, now you can't jump from the fire and then to start talking about movies. We don't want to talk about movies. We're talking about the fire now. Everything that revolves around that. You have the questions, so that you got to do your homework. So when you present it to me next week, then I just go off and give you the words. So, because I teach a lot of different people all over the world actually, and they asked me to set the agenda. I said I can start anywhere. Where do you want to start? I got to know you. What do you like? What do you don't like? Do you like to eat? Do you like to cook? Because some people say plant. So we start from there, but we don't leave planting. And we talk about planting, and then we go and they're realizing, oh, that word sounds like we heard it before, because we're talking about planting. Like if I want to throw you off, I just talk about baseball and you'd be lost and say, I'll never learn this language. Well, you would never learn the English or French language either, unless you were given a template, right? And you're going to go, and if you are going to go to a movie and you went to see a horror movie and there was a comedy on, well, you'll leave. You wanted to see a horror movie. So you set the stage. I'm just a teacher. And I don't say I know it all, but I know I'll find the word. That's why I write it, store it, and we usually can solve it on that night. But no, we have we're fortunate. I wasn't against technology, but I wasn't going to get it. And then, of course, when all this virtual stuff started, I said, let me try it. If I don't like it, the hell with it. But then now I like it because I don't have to leave the house. In the summer, it won't be bad because you're sitting outside, but in the winter. But anyway, getting back to that, this is what the ball's in your court, We can teach you anything. But now that we set the fire, so now we know where we're at. We're around the fire. So it's up to these people sitting in this room right now, in this room, to keep saying, hey, let's ask this, let's ask that, and then we'll go from there.
Can you expand on the term home?
Home? You mean like It just, see, that's interesting, that word. It's an old word, but it means where our bridge is at. So tonight, we just built a bridge all the way to Belgium because Helen is here. So the first span went all the way to Belgium. So we're going to make this bridge to go right around the world. But it's not a physical bridge.
Okay, that term, that word, this is not describing a house, like when you say home. Let's go home. Let's go to our house.
That's the old word, the old word for your home.
Okay, and it's a bridge.
Yeah.
Okay. You see here, this is where we identify that when you have a continuum, when you come from a continuous unbroken bloodline, meaning the knowledge is kept alive, you can trace your lineage all the way back to Sky Woman. All of us can. But in some of us, we get to a point where it'll become foggy and we'll get lost. And the bridge will, just like sometimes when we're driving on a bridge and it's foggy, you can't see it. You can lose your way. Now with the bridge, when you know that you're coming from, Kanienkeha are not coming from just when people came into this world. No, we are coming from the time of Sky Woman, the continuum. And so from there, we know that all of our existence, everything that exists on the turtle's back, exists on the duality. And the duality today is identified by the non-native as that double helix of DNA. You know where your home is in the double helix of DNA? It's not on this side or this side, because on this side or this side, there's nothing. You know where something is? In the middle, in the bridge. That's where the home is. So in the language, the Kanienkeha, it identifies things that goes beyond what you see on the surface. Everybody grasps, or maybe even doesn't grasp, what is superficial. But to get to the true meanings, this is where it has to be knowledge of the law, enabled to be able to say what those words mean. You look at those words, and none of you are going to grasp that home about being identifying right to the double helix of DNA. Nobody is going to grasp that. You're going to see home, and you're going to think about a house. And when you think about a house, automatically it's real estate. Automatically it is something that is not even real for us, because real estate is not real for you. You can never own it. You can never be there guaranteed that you're born there and you're going to die there, because it is owned the way that you are owned. And you are just allowed to be there by the person that owns you, the person who you are the taxpayer to. So very deep meanings here. We can keep going deeper and deeper, but that is very interesting. To me, it tells me something very deep, because I'll go to a dream that I had. We went out to on the South Shore, like the Gaspé area, and there was a bridge, a huge bridge that was going over to the Innu territory, but it was cloudy and we couldn't see the bridge. Overnight at the base of the bridge, there was a motel we had to stay in. We were waiting. It's like, not that we had to, it's like, not that we wanted to, it was like it was a processing. In the morning, we got on that bridge, and when we got up there in the foggy part that you couldn't see, it was like being on a bridge with just the skeleton. No road there or nothing, but there was all people. It was all non-native people who were waiting to come this way. And I was looking at them like, what's wrong with you? You are going the wrong way. They didn't realize where they were. Their transition, if you're going in life and it's time to transition and you got to go that way, they're going this way. So they can't complete their cycle. They're waiting in the thing that they call purgatory. That's where they're lost there. The bridge is a real thing. We know we are built up of our DNA, and we know that the DNA is the duality. So how many cells in our body of DNA to make the physical matter that we know that we see here? Do we see double helix in this? We can, if we decipher everything that we are seeing. If we get through to the true concept. This is what the Kanienkeha does. The Kanienkeha language, Kanienkeha, it'll get through to the true concept. But there is a fact, like what Wayagero said, the language is changing. So there is, in a duality here, there is keys for the language in law, just as there is keys for the language, keys for law in the language. So there is a duality here where, as you see, every time that we have a Kanienkeha class, that we end up bridging gaps that no one has bridged before. That ends up getting, like you said in the past, they're old words that haven't been used in hundreds of years. So as we go on, these words will be explained to you. It's not just that you're going to learn to say those words again because there's no meaning in it for you. You're going to learn the meaning. And when you're going to say those words, it doesn't matter if you go scoobity boobity boobity boo, whatever. You got the meaning in what you're saying, then the meaning is going to permeate through the fiber of your being. And those places in your body that are activated naturally by certain nerve endings connected to each other, where you know that there's muscle reaction, knee-jerk reactions, those things throughout the entire system of your body can be reactivated to be in your control, not something that is out of your control because maybe you don't even know about it. The Kanienkeha were and are the keepers of the fire. We are the ones that spark the fire. This does not mean that we are the smartest, no. But when you initiate something, it is something that is intrinsic in you. And when we get to the point of where all life that is built upon this has dwindled and left its station, then we go back again. Once again, we return to the source. And so through the language, we will do this. You will learn things about, again, the meanings, the concepts. So you might come to a Mohawk class, a Kanienkeha class, and maybe only learn, what is this, 5 words that we learned tonight? 2. But
it's a mixture, it's a combination, it's condensed.
But the knowledge you will leave with is going to be more than what you think you came to learn this. Like if you went to learn Spanish, you learn how to say that, and it wouldn't carry all these meanings. So if there's anything else from here.
Well, when you're learning Kanienkeha, like I always tell my students, is you got to ask yourself, okay, try it for a couple of weeks. Are you really ready for it? You're making a commitment. And there's a young lady sitting right next to me here who Edith, and she's learned the language so well. Like, because I talk about her often to people that don't even know her. And I said she jumped in there head first. She didn't even look. She just went in and she grabbed onto this language. And she is more Kanienkeha than 95% of Kanienkeha, because she took that dive, and there's no monetary gain for her. It's her political gain, and how she wants to find her roots, and her roots are our roots. She's our daughter. She's our baby. We got to take care of her for her uncles. And she wanted to learn, and she never stops learning. So how long have you been learning, Edith?
For a while now.
Well, what's a while? Give us a number.
8 years, something like
8
that.
years.
But it's nothing constant.
8 years, but I mean, next week we'll have her do the opening. Then we'll give you an example of what dedication does, because it's not fair for me to always open, because then after that, if you're asked to open, you'll see, like all of a sudden you say, oh, I'm going against the best, which I'm not, but I could run with the best. We all have our own way of opening, but I want to hear somebody that's not even Kanienkeha To open.
We hear that all the time.
Yeah, we
Desiree, well, not in the language, but they have the concept of doing the opening, which, like I said, if you have the concept, you could say Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
If Scooby-Doo represents this concept, then, you know, the person is expressing their knowledge of the concept, where otherwise, the people don't have the concept of a Honda Gari Wadekwa.
Yeah.
They can't do it. They can't. If you don't know that you got a left arm, well, you can't ever use the damn thing. You're never going to get anywhere. Anyways, the thing here also about the Kanienkeha is to understand the Degene Diohade. It is duality. The fact is this world is divided in two. You can see that the world has been corrupted by one, because the whole world speaks that corrupted language, English. It stems from there, from Britain. Now, when you go around the world and you look at everywhere that they have gone to colonize, everywhere they have spread this corruption, that no one has, or everyone has succumbed to them. Here, the Kanienkeha, the people of the Five Nations Longhouse Confederacy, are the only people on the planet that made a treaty with them that they were compelled to enter into. And it's a treaty of peace. Now think of this. The warring language of Earth is English. Now, if it makes a treaty with another, then that's because it is the opposite of itself. So Britain, which is the root of war in the world, English language is the language of war, it made a treaty with Kanienkeha. Kanienkeha is the language of peace. If you learn the language of peace, you'll be speaking peace. If you'll be speaking peace, you're not going to put up for words of war. Just to show you the example, some of you who were with us the other night, Wednesday night, when you seen the law, remember he was talking about standing military, and you seen how I would not put up with that. When you know the ways of peace, you will not put up with the slightest encroachment of war into your world of peace. But again, it's the Kanienkeha, the Kanienkeha language, that is the language of peace. It can be translated into any language, because smartness, intellectual abilities is not limited by language. It's only limited by dumb people. If you want to be dumb, ignorant, you limit your own intellectual capacities. So in this process, we will, you will become enlightened to peace.
Well, we're talking about powers. There's only two powers in the world, and that's the life givers and the males. So one belt we should make is we should make peace between the life givers and the males in order to have an equal polarity on the planet to get back. But how many men will relinquish their power? They won't. But I mean, it won't last.
Okay, look at what you just identified. If this is applied and it's identified for them to come home, relay down the fire, what was the first thing that was done at the formation of the league? They had to present equal contribution of the women and men to create the Onagordo, the wampum of the Five Nations Longhouse Confederacy, the political wampum. This is this. Each house, each nation is supposed to have their political wampum. This is made of equal contributions of the women and men. The Five Nations is supposed to have that also, made of equal contributions of the women and men. Now this is our house wampum, made of equal contributions of women and men. So you see that from the cellular level in your own body or how things are made up, the people exist on the land the same way and have the same cellular connection to each other, even if you don't have verbal, even if you don't have visual, or you don't have physical contact, there is still that interconnectedness through us, that we're all linked through our spirit, the spirit that our mother gives us. And this is the root, the foundation of our language. When your mother is your authority, when your mother, Sky Woman, is the, you could say like in the non-native world, you identify God and it's male. When your ultimate, when your primary is female, everything is going to be peace. Everything is going to be logic, common sense, interconnectivity with each other. And like we spoke of today, the fairness and all of that will be there. When your leader is male, you are committing suicide. It will take you centuries collectively to commit suicide, but it will be a long, slow, arduous process for you, and it will be very painful as to what you are experiencing right now. You are experiencing the pain that your ancestors, maybe 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, caused you to feel today. Who would do that to their children? People who don't understand the interconnectivity to each other. People who don't have that link any longer back to the mother. So a lot of concepts here will be built on the wordings are going to be of the real things. It's identified, time to return. So now we're coming back to life. So all the things that we will discuss, the language, the words, or whatever that anybody wants, like he said, you will come up with them because you're the one that will be coming back to life. So like he said, next week, don't bring words about your baseball game or going bowling or camping or nonsense like that. We don't put up with that here. If you want nonsense, you can go to a bazillion other places. Here, you know, it is a specific agenda to reignite the fires within the individuals. Maybe if there's something that anybody wants to say, address on all of this, since this is our, we'll say like our inaugural Kanienkeha class again. So we'll go to whoever's on there. I guess you got to manage that.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I can speak?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. It was Wayagaron. You said that Ahon Saye was us. I find it very interesting to also to remember and to keep the power of the word, to be very cognizant of that, to separate. So what means the part Watson and Haya? Can you tell us?
That's for us all collectively to set the fire, to lay the fire back down. For all of us to set the fire, that part of it is for us, let's see, for us to put, then to lay the fire down.
Okay. Thank you, Nyama. And for home, is there a part when we can see the bridges in the world, or
the home? To see home is Ganusa. That's like you hear Ganusa Swana, people of the longhouse, but that's the home. But the older word before was the oldest word before home was Aswa, what Aswa is. Because when we were bridging from the Kanienkeha to the Onia Dakahaga, to the Onondaga, to the Senecas and Cayugas, we were always bridging. So we had to build bridges. It's political bridges. What do you call it when something is spiritual bridges? Spiritual bridges that we're building, not physical bridges like a car bridge.
Mhm.
So we had, that's the word they used to use for your home. And for you, you're in Belgium. So we just built a bridge to Belgium. You know,
It's already built.
maybe this is why the Kanienkeha were so good at ironworking, building bridges.
maybe that's what it is. You don't know. We don't know. I wouldn't, for me to say, yeah, it would be because I was an ironworker, I'd be patting myself on the back. But yeah, it makes lots of sense.
But that is there's a fact. We're world renowned, and especially the Mohawks of Ganawagi, you know, are world renowned for ironworking. I mean, even people who never heard of ironworking have heard of Mohawk ironworkers from Ganawagi. You know, so there is a reality to that, and that how we started off really in that was on the Quebec Bridge. Building that bridge that really was not a disaster. It was a plan. It wasn't something that just happened. The Quebec Bridge, that was a plan. It was a planned thing that was a direct response to still what was fresh in the minds of the people of the Plains of Abraham. It wasn't that much longer after that. So anyways, that's where we started ironworking. We were the bridge builders. You know, it's a very, very coincidental.
When we get to the word like Ozeroni, if you ask any Mohawk, say, what's Ozeroni? And they'll say French. Oh, it's not French. Ozeroni. Ozeroni is, you know, when you everybody must have seen blacksmiths. The old days, the blacksmiths that made steel. To start the fire, they needed that Ozero. And who the French were the first one here. We were watching them on Ozero, and then we seen that they made steel. So what they became was Ozeroni. They were the ones to make the steel. And then we gravitated. It wasn't their language. We didn't know what they were saying, but it's what they did. Ozeroni. They made this wind to ignite the flames, and then formed steel. Then we start trading knives, and we start using knives instead of stone. We're using stone. So in the end, us as Kanienkeha, we became Ozeroni, which a lot of them say, I don't want to be. It doesn't mean you're a Frenchman. It means you're starting this fire. So it's always going. It's funny how we always dealing with fire. So the Ozeroni, that's what they are. They introduced this, and some of the best iron workers in North America are the French or Ozeroni. That's who we started with. So when that bridge was sabotaged, the company was from Pittsburgh, and they were American, and two powers they didn't want at the time was what a time to have all Mohawks and Frenchmen on the bridge. Let that bridge drop.
And it was a proven already bad design. It was already discontinued design that they were not using anywhere else around the world now. It was already proven to be, there was a flaw in the design.
It was doomed to fail. It was doomed to fail. But I mean, nobody wanted it. That's like a cold case we're digging up.
It's interesting here. When you're talking about, you're identifying that process, Ozeroni, and really that's their word, the scissors, you know?
Yeah.
So we incorporate it, but it's about breathing the fire.
Yeah, breathing fire.
And on the level there that we're talking about is we're talking about of the iron, of the stones, the rocks, of where you're breathing that fire. So it's like initiating that was there. How do you say that? Ozeroni?
Ozeroni. But I was just going to ask the group here. They speak French. So what's the word for that in French?
Soufflet.
What?
Soufflet.
Souffle.
Ozeruni, is that any way implying, or do you get any kind of negative out of it?
Well, ozera, see, that's ozeruni. Runi means to make. Ozera is wind, to make wind.
But do you get any kind of like a negative from that?
No, only if you want it to be negative.
Okay, because I see the Ozeruni, the flame, you're at that beginning process of the what do you call that process? Processing iron, processing stone, mineral. That's a negative there. That's a negative fire. Anyways,
There was something that they invented and we latched onto and we became famous for being what people don't want to be. So all of us iron workers were Ozeruni, but it was the people who worked in the foundry that were the Ozeruni people that worked in foundries, and us we became steel erectors. Everybody forgets just the erection department, you know, we put up the steel. That was our business. But one cannot have one without the other. You cannot have a child with just two men or two women. So we're all a component of something.
Ah, okay. So then, in the double helix, the bridge is where the home is, but it's in the both ends of the double helix where the fire is, where that initial fire of like starting the
It
process.
ignites it, yeah. That's what we were talking about this afternoon, was to fall in love with somebody. You walk in the room, you like somebody right off the bat. And then you want to bridge that, so you're building a fire. You're building a bridge, a spiritual bridge. Because if you like somebody and they react, you smile, they smile back, you know you already started the first phase. Whether it's going to last, another thing. But
there's a lot to understand here. There's the conversation about maybe not necessarily say the actual Kanienkeha words, but the conversation that it sparks into the understandings of how deep really your mind can go deeper and deeper in a single word. Because the words here are not words like, say, like our names. Our names are not John and Bill and whatever, you know. You heard my name is Stuart, his name is George, but Wayagirdo doesn't mean George. What does George mean? You know, what does Stuart mean? Doesn't mean anything, because Nazario means something. So as we discover concepts, you know, in your own mind, your knowledge of being able to connect the dots on many things are going to happen. Doorways to rooms you didn't even know exist in your own house, filled with knowledge. The intellectual capacity of the human is not the size of our brains, it's the size of the waterverse. That's our intellectual capacity. So there is no limit. We cannot allow anything, any human constructs to restrict our brain capacity. If our brain capacity on the spiritual level is not flowing through anywhere naturally where it wants to, then it is religified. It is chained, cannot grow, cannot know, won't know freedom, will only know what the chain is. Gets us to the chain. And then when the Dutch came, we offered to them the Degene Diode. They wanted to call it the iron chain. The British wanted to call it the silver covenant chain. A chain. That's their reference always, to chain you, to lock you down out of your freedom. We're reversing the process. So enjoy it. So was there anything? Yeah, go on.
I have a question. You talked about the spirit with the fire. I remember taking part into a vision quest, and I was asked to do the firekeeper between 2 o'clock in the morning and 6 in the morning. And during that time, it was amazing, all of the spiritual world, how it would come into the realm, you know, like I remember the one that was conducting it, his the wife of her son was pregnant, and she was way, like from Orleans to way out in the boonies in Valdemont. It's very far. There's no way we were in the woods. There's no way they could have known how to get there, but they got there in the middle of the night, and they were hearing a man of that was taking part of the quest screaming. And so they came to see if everything was okay. And then they left. Because that was during I was the firekeeper. So they came to me because the two conductors were gone in the woods to seek for the people if they were okay. And another night, there was a man that was there that I'd never seen. And by the time I talked to the conductor when he came back at 6, I said, who was that guy? Because he was tall. At first, when I woke up at 2, I thought it was him, but it was his brother that had passed away, that was coming to teach the other woman that was there to learn how to be a conductor. And I've seen him, and he even talked to me. He asked me if I needed a flashlight, and I said, oh no, it's okay, I see with the fire. And it was amazing spiritually, at that spiritual level, everything that happened in that frame of, because I was a firekeeper.
Well, in the evenings when the spirits are more active than any time. Because us now, when we go to sleep after and you close your eyes, then everything that you were thinking, there's no diversions. Right now, a lot of stuff can, you know, if you were outside and it was daytime, people running around yelling, too much interruptions. But at night, you're just focused if that's what you want to be on. That's why when I go to sleep tonight and I ask our grandparents, say this what they meant, and send me the proper words. And that's when I hear them at 2 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes I get up and I start writing. I write a word that I never heard in my life. Why did I get that word? Then I feed on that for the rest of the day. So the nighttime is for sleeping, and us, it went the other way. I mean, mind you, I'm not knocking anybody. I used to party myself all night, but you know, I wasn't learning nothing. But it's only when I learned to sleep, and then, of course, you got to go on to that. I went on to that spiritual ride, and it's a ride like you don't want to get off. Other stuff gets boring. This doesn't, because it's your future, and you're almost in your great parents' past. So you're bridging that gap again. They're sending you these messages, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be native, because we all need that. We all need that bridging. I mean, you have grandparents of different languages, and maybe they're just waiting for you to say the right word and say, call us in. We're ready to help you. But if you don't ask, nobody's going to help you. Nobody can read your mind. So with that spiritual stuff, it's very important. It's the real thing. And that's what, like he was talking about democracy. Well, that they just take away you have no thinking whatsoever. They think for you. You know, everybody's yelling about COVID and dying. No, but I don't care how much money they take out of your pocket to pay for a health system. Only look in the mirror, and it's the only person responsible for your health. Nobody else. Our children, we have to take care of.
What you said about your experience with the fire, this exemplifies the reason why everywhere around the world, fire is outlawed. It's made illegal. You could have it even now in your house. It's made illegal unless you have a very specific type of wood stove or an insert into your fireplace. And what dictates to you even not having that any longer is insurance. And so people are through the system, corruption of democracy, the bureaucracy in it, they create their own chains. They chain themselves, tying their hands from their freedom. Because fire, no matter what, you're going to gravitate towards it. And you don't have to know where it is. The author of our book, Words of Peace in Native Land, the author of our book, Guylaine, she identified that the first time she came to join us for a moon ceremony on the mountain, she didn't know where the hell she was. She was wandering here and there, whatever, and all of a sudden, in the middle of wherever, she was ready to go home. But there, all of a sudden, she just gravitated to the fire, found herself right next to Edith at the fire. This is because fire, like within the Kanienkeha, we are the flint, people of the flint, we spark the fire. At the spark of the fire, just like what you said there, yeah, that process there of starting, initiating something, the fact is that when you go back to the fire, fire is where what you might consider to be magic or something supernatural, that's where it happens, from fire. Because fire creates transition for everything, or it creates the beginning of existence of something. And so for whatever fire creates, it wasn't there before. So the fire is a you could say supernatural, magical, mystical, physical force of creation, from where all fire creates the spark of life. In the sun, whether it's a fire to keep people warm, no matter what, that is a thing that where magic happens. And so they will keep you away from fire. They will make it illegal for you to have access to fire, which was part of the reasons why, when you go back to, say, in Europe, not too long ago, that the King's Forest, if you went to try to get even a piece of firewood out of the King's Forest, no, you get beaten. You'd even get killed for that, because that's the beginning of self-empowerment. That's the beginning of revitalizing the critical thought, critical thinking mind. But you got to have that fire. You also have to have it a physical thing. You have to have your place where you have your central fire. Doesn't mean that you got to have your fire there all the time, but that's where you do your ceremony. That's your link, your umbilical cord to our Mother Earth. From where what you said today, how did you say it? Singing?
Dancing.
Huh?
Dancing.
No, singing.
That we're a song.
We
Come from a song of our mothers.
No, today you used the word about song, singing.
You said we were all
Oh, we're all a song, yeah, because when you're born.
No, but there was the word that you used. Almost like when we're announcing the song and the singer, they're going to sing. What is the word there? I can't even think of it now. When you're saying, okay, Yizagahoe Gonungwe Radiana. Rawiana. And that is to sing?
Yeah, their song.
That's where your central fire, that's where your song is. That's where you sing your song. That's your spiritual connection to the earth. When you think of umbilical cord, well, it's the place of where your song is, where you're singing from.
That's where the women created the song. Women created all the songs. They're the only ones who give birth. We can't give birth. We can only supply the seed. But they supply, when she was born, she wasn't born. Her son was born. If it was your baby, you say Edith, Agoyan or another, that there would be some Edith's female daughter's son. She gave birth to a female son. And then after that, there's attachments. Oh no, it's her daughter. It's her this, then it's her niece, it's her grandmother. We'll go down the women line, which where it's supposed to go. It never touched the men, you know. And men, they'll say, they're all uncles to all these young kids. And it doesn't mean your uncle. It means it means he's your minder. You're supposed to mind everybody younger than you. So me, I'm all your uncles except you. I can't be your uncle. Yeah, I'm older than you. I guess, yeah, I'm 70. Yeah, so I'm still your uncle. So everybody, I'm their uncle. I'm a minder. And then he's the other uncle in the house.
I'll be your younger uncle.
I'm still. Only when an older man comes in, then I'm not the oldest uncle in the house. So it's interesting, the language, how it's been taken away, and then you get these die-hard Mohawks that say, oh no, it means uncles. No. Tell me where it means uncle, they don't know how. You were told this means this.
Like Kanienkeha. People with purple.
They say that's purple. Is the Pope. It means the holder of the law. And there's only one law, and that's Rome.
But the reason why they gave reference to that was because of his purple robe.
Yeah.
Now, he doesn't wear a purple robe all the time. But purple is the authority of law, the assemblage of law. Which is somewhere into like what we were talking about when last week we're talking about the red and blue and green flashes of light in the sky. You'll find the purple in there, in between those two.
And they're going, call what purple is to say, oh, no, that's grape, like her shirt, grape. So it's a nature thing. We're nature people. So no, that's what we call
grape.
Yeah.
Okay, then. What is that? She carries the grapes or the vine.
She's holding the vine.
Kahawi
Nujin means she's carrying along. Next to J is always to Kahawi Nujin. She's carrying next to something. Kahawi Nujin. It's interesting names too.
Was there anybody else that wanted to?
Yeah, Harold, it's your turn.
When Stuart was describing the political fire, it was describing politics. It sounded like culture. What word would you use for culture?
Culture, it actually means our ways within our law, because we all come under different laws. You have a base. Every people that belong to an organization where we belong to a race. It's like, everybody belongs somewhere.
How would you spell that?
What was the
Culture? Culture? Maybe something about sea, no?
Tini do away you know.
So it has to do with water? No?
Tini do away you know.
You share it. Yeah.
And Harold, while you are there, why don't you show the beautiful poster that has been just created talking about that?
Can you share that right now so people who are seeing?
Well, I don't want to interfere with this.
Okay.
I think.
and that's I can't see it in the way and that's like our path. That's our path.
What are we looking at there?
Our path. Because we all have a different path. We choose the path we're on. The path that we're on.
You said something about our law within our ways.
Is our, okay, we drop down. Okay, Nguayanarasa. Ngwa. Ya. Ne. Ra. Se. Ra. Nguayanarasa. And that's our pathways.
The waters are calling us. Wasn't that what we had
Yeah,
said?
the waters are
The waters are calling us. Not water's been calling us.
Nguayanarasa.
Okay.
Because you hear Oyaner in there, eh? Or Oyaner, Guayaner. It's always our path. Our whole thing within the Ganusesta is our path. That's why the great law is not a law. It's the great white path of peace.
Okay, does he have to stop sharing that?
Yeah.
You could just share over.
Oh, can everybody see? Yeah.
Okay, maybe where it says that's our path, maybe just put a / culture. Now here, you got to understand what this is a very, how would we identify this? A very, delicate association here. It's a very loose association to say culture and that's our path. Because again, that's our path is very short words that means so much more. So just understand that this word is a loose association. The term culture does not give it justify the meaning or the sentiment of that. Yeah, because culture does not imply, or no one thinks of when they think of all the things that are within our law. Definitely non-native people are not going to think about all those things. And most of our people left today are not thinking about those things. So just understand this is a loose association with the term of culture to Zini Dewa Ye Noda. So we should all go over that word too then, right? There's two of them. Zini Dewa Ye Noda. Zini Dewa Ye Noda.
Sinita Waweya Noda.
Zidiwa Ye Noda.
Sinita Waweya Noda. Sinita Waweya Noda.
Zini Ye Noda.
Okay, you guys, okay.
Zini Dewa Ye. Uh-oh. Zini Dewa Ye Noda.
Dinite wa weye nota.
Sinite wawe ionota.
Sinite wawe yenoda.
Tinite kwa weye nota.
An.
Ni tanan. Aided nota.
Dallas.
Hello, hi. Hello?
Zinide wawe anoda.
You just repeat the word we are in the Kanienkeha
Did
class.
you just join us?
He joined a while ago, but after we did the first time. So we repeat the words to learn them if you want.
Okay, well, say it again to me, sorry.
Okay, the word is in front of you. It's supposed to be anyway. Zinide wawe anoda. That's our culture or path.
I'm gonna have a hard time with that one. Sorry. Okay. Say it again to me so I get a better idea. Denise,
Zinide wawe anoda.
Tanita Tinawe Denote.
Pretty close, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Harold.
Okay. Zinide wawe anoda. Zinide wawe anoda.
Pretty close.
Thanks.
Sorry, I had to deal with emergency and family, so but Zini de Wawe Yano Den.
Very good.
Hélène.
Tini wewate, pardon, je suis fatiguée. Tini te wawe yenota.
That's the one.
Marie-Noël.
Zinide wawe yenota.
Very
Wow, there you go.
Mary.
Zinide wawe yenota.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
We got
Rami, but he
Oh,
said
Rami,
already
as
in
well.
one speaks.
Okay, our pathways. Uguayanera sera.
Ongweya nere. Ongwaya nera sera.
Like a flow. Unguaya nera sera.
Ongwaye nera sera.
There's only one.
There's all two
There's two
seras, two of them seras.
Okay, take one out. Yeah, take the last one out. Okay. Unguayanera sera. Unguayanera sera.
Ongwaya nera sera. Ongwaya nera sera.
Good.
Unguayanerasera.
Unguayanerasera. Unguayanerasera.
Unguayanerasera.
Anne.
Unkana nan rasea.
Dallas.
Unkane Sarasara.
Almost.
Unkane Naras.
Harold.
Ingwai Narasra.
Yes. Very good, Harold.
Klaus.
Unguayanerasera.
Very good.
Hélène.
Onguayanerasera.
It's really good.
Marie-Noël. Marie-Noël.
Unguayanerasera.
Very good.
Merrick.
Onguayanerasera.
Yeah, really good.
I think of Doris Day.
Yeah.
Ne sera sera. But from what I learned from Mary Claude, that when you're learning another language, you use association like that, right?
Yeah.
To remember. So anyways. Okay, I heard somebody say that they were getting fatigued. I think that was
Yeah.
Helen, right?
It's 3 in the morning for her.
Ah, come on.
Yes, it's 3 in the
If you were
morning.
here, you'd be up all night.
I'm
with us.
the only crazy woman here.
Don't worry, we'll be up till.
Crazy in love with the language. That's all right.
Okay, so I guess for tonight, myself, this was this Kanienkeha class was centered around the fact of an onagordo, a protocol of law. And so myself, I'm very happy with what we learned, what we talked about, what it's sparking within us. The conversation or the say just what it sparks for you to think on other things from there. So I'm very happy. Now we'll go, everybody. So who do we want to go? Do you want to do the closing or do we want to go to somebody? Yeah, let's go to Edith to give the example of what Wire here to sing about how good
Hey,
she's learning.
Helen, we're still gonna have that class in the morning if you still want.
Which morning? The end of the morning.
It's gonna be 8 o'clock for me, so I don't know.
Your morning.
It's
Yeah,
2
my
in
morning.
the afternoon for her.
Your morning is perfect.
Okay, then I'll call you in the morning. then. Okay, Edith's gonna close then.
There's just my vowel. Wait.
So agwego wagat sanuni. Agwego gunung wala na runung weskat ne. No, Gayuni.
Yeah.
Last Gayuni. Ngayon na sa Goa. Neskana. So we're very happy that all of the life givers and the life protectors could come together to this special class of the last wampum of the Great Law of Peace.
Ooh, no, it's not the last one.
Oh, it's special wampum? It's because a while we have presented as the last wampum.
It's the final onagora to be applied. It's not the last wampum. The final onagora to be applied in law.
I wouldn't know how to say that. So that.
And then no not goka. Then no not goka. Onagora. Okay. And then
Okay. Jadi sista soko dano aksata yundajes kwe panchita dano degano satanena yundajes kwe selsa sapo tekni hunsagi mexika wenerista yunata yuni yakina stadista nanta harage gano sesne tamyanga haga gano wage ne wisi hunsagi no warage kawanoge ichino warado gano wakaniya geso dano yankisota santane kagarakwa dano yankinista ni hunsagi dano huego skat ne gunumwe. So we give thanks to Sky Woman, to our Grandma Moon, to our Mama Earth, and to all of the life keepers from the newest born to the eldest of all of the different strains of life. We give thanks to the twins, to all of the waters, to all of the medicines, and to all of our relations in good mind. Orado yariñasto hinatajo interrotiskare wage ayunkiata genha danda bueno hetserane aweka watse dano aweka tsanhaya ne yankinisani hunsage jagun se dan de garawida na wego diane dano rodiane ne yohahiyo gani guria dano gandawana agwexa no generatos de goa dano generasra goa dano degeni de yohade. We give thanks to the three clans, the turtle, wolf, and bear, for assisting us to bring back our heart fires and our nationhood fires. And we give thanks to the peacemaker, the Ganawida, and to Jagun Sese, who called upon him, and to all of the female and male chiefs that have been carrying the peace in their hearts. And we ask them to guide us to be able to bury the weapons of war and to attain the white roots of the tree of peace. And also we give thanks for the great law of peace and the Turu Wampum that assist us in doing so.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, then.
Yeah, we'll go.
okay, so what's the deal? Have a good night.
So next Saturday,
Now we'll go.
7 o'clock, right? Is that the time, 7
Yeah.
o'clock? Okay.
Bye, everyone.
It's gonna go. I love you.
Bye-bye.